Welcome to Kitchen Chats, where I, Megan, your host, right now I'm prepping school lunches, or not school lunches, well, kind of school lunches. My kids are in preschool, and we meet up at lunchtime with some friends and have a picnic lunch, as they like to call it. So technically it's a school lunch of some sort, but where I come and talk to you for 10 minutes to 15 minutes from my kitchen about whatever's on my heart or mind. Normally, it ends up being a tarot talk at some point. And often I'm prepping something because I like to move around and do things in the kitchen and talk with people. And right now, you are my people because I have no one else in the house at the moment. So you are my people who I'm talking to. Hello, welcome. Yeah. Today it took me a little while to get on camera. I'm gonna admit that. This whole idea of being inspired to show up and then knowing whether you're the inspiration or being inspired or being motivated and where does motivation come from, it's all just do it type thing, I guess. I guess Nike is kind of right in the way that that slogan got presented, you know, because often I don't necessarily feel motivated to do things until I'm actually starting to do them. And I'm not talking like, oh, dreading it, so you should just do it. I mean, if you're dreading something, we should really take a look at why is it that we're dreading, right? But just more like, oh, that feels like an inconvenience. Maybe I should just scroll some more. Or do I really have something good to talk about today? Who's gonna wanna listen? What if I just come on and talk, and then if people listen, they listen. If they don't, I at least got some stuff off my chest for 10 minutes and get the excitement of knowing that if somebody does really vibe with my stuff, maybe they'll watch more and they'll come back, or they'll see this later at a time that they needed it, and ta-da, something like that, right? So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the idea that I was scrolling and dopamine seeking that way, and I said, well, I have to make lunches anyway. Just put your camera on, put some glitter on your lips, because why not? It's fun, and just do it, because you've been enjoying it. Why not? So that's what I'm here doing, enjoying, because why not? I also pulled my tarot and coffee for the day. Maybe we'll talk about that first. So today's card was the Three of Wands, and I did bring up the fact that wands are a creative energy. Now, I did see a debate not too long ago about the tarot community being split on if wands are fire or if they are air energy, because each suit has an element associated with it. If you follow me on Instagram, I've been doing fun little things about that. Anyway, and so wands, the way that I have learned them and the way about half of the tarot community views them is fire energy. Now, fire is our creative passion. It's that thing that keeps us going, that keeps things burning bright. Creative energy keeps us going. It's passionate, right? And so when I read things that way, right, the idea is that when the wands show up, it's really about considering the fire in a situation. What are you passionate about? How does it happen? Now, the thing about the Three of Wands is it's a waiting card. It's a card that he's not actually doing much in the card, right? He's standing here, you can't even see his face. And that's because the Two of Wands is all about planning. So you sit there and you plan the thing in the twos. You consider the pros and cons of it. You figure out what the right way to go is. You see how it's going to come out in the world. He's holding a globe in it, right? So that's the two. The four is the celebration of having the thing going. everybody gets together, it's people dancing around 4 wands. So you go from planning and then the celebration, well, guess what? In between, there's often this watching the pieces move and fall into place, and just being that person who has to observe it and make sure it's happening. You set it in motion in the 3, but you're not necessarily involved with it as it's happening. The community around you, often we think of 3s as like you and others and able to doing something, right? And so you have set things in motion. He's actually watching ships. He's actually watching ships out in the harbor because he sent them out to do this thing he had planned in the 2, and then in the 4, we're all excited about it, right? And so sometimes when we get to that spot of I made all these plans and now I just have to execute, it's actually a spot of feeling really stuck. That's where I feel the most stuck often, because I can make all the plans in my head and get really excited about them and be really looking forward to the end result of celebrating what comes from it, but the actual doing the small steps along the way, like, hey, these are the steps you need to take, and this is where you're going, and this is how to get there, and this is what you need to bring back to me, and if you need, something, let's talk about it, and let's really make sure that these things go, and you take small steps along the way. Sometimes those small steps really stink. Like, I have a really hard time taking small, deliberate actions. And so those small, deliberate actions are what move us forward, though, right? We have to take those small, deliberate actions. And so when I was feeling like I wasn't doom scrolling, I'd say a dopamine scrolling, right? Just scrolling through Instagram because I had time without distraction to be able to do that. I don't know. I don't even know what I was reading about. But anyway, so I finally was like, hey, you have to make lunches because I have to pick up my kids at a certain point in time. So I have a finite amount of time, right? And I had to pick up lunches and make lunches. And I really wanted to do my tarot and coffee. And I really wanted to get on here and talk to you guys. So that meant that I needed to just start doing. And then I pulled the 3 of Wands. I'm like, and I just need to start doing. And so I love that because while I pull tarot and coffee for the collective, right? I pull it so that I have a presence online so that you can have a card drawn for you every day, right? But also, I pull it for me because it helps me understand things or be aware of things and pay attention to things. And it reminds me to continue to live the tarot in the way that makes me feel that I embody it and I understand it, and then that makes it easier to read for other people because as I make my associations of what those cards mean for me and I keep building and growing and learning and being a part of the world, then when those cards show up when I'm reading for someone else, it means that I get to draw on my own personal experiences along with the intuitive hits that come through or whatever, and then I can give those examples as we go, because telling somebody in a vacuum like, oh, this card means this, without explaining the why or the how or other experiences that you've had with it, it can be too abstract for people. I worked in a space where I was doing training at the end of my corporate career, which I was excited about. That was where I was always wanting to head towards, was training. And of course the training that I was doing, I was not actually doing the training, which then made me feel like I wasn't very happy with my role. Not the point. The point is we were looking at material that we were using to train people. And there were 2 very important things that you needed when you were training people. You needed to tell them why they were doing it, okay? Because the why connects people to a reason for doing it. If you don't have a reason, some people are very good and they're like, okay, I have to do this. This instruction tells me to do it. And my why is I have an instruction and the instruction says do it. But not everyone's wired that way. A lot of people will pay closer attention and do better work if they know the reason for doing that step. So they were assembling things. And so you could say, you need to put the glue in this much because it won't harden if you put too much, and it won't cover everything if you put too little. So giving them the reasons why you had that finite amount that they needed to put in helped them register when they were going to do it. Oh, I have to put this much in, otherwise it doesn't do its job, right? Some people will take that without any sort of explanation. A lot of people want the why. Why am I doing it this way? And then it connects and it sits in their brain and they're like, oh, okay, this is why. This is why I have to do it that way. And then of course we had to explain the how. How do you do it right? Okay, this is how you apply it exactly the right way, right? And that was so that you had your repetitiveness and everybody was doing it the right way. But really the why, we do so much better when we know why. And we do so much better when people tell us why. And so in tarot and doing that embodiment and really knowing that it is about the way you live your life, the whys come easier because you can then explain it. So if I say, the Three of Wands has shown up, take your baby steps, and people are like, okay, sure, thanks. But if I'm like, hey, the Three of Wands has shown up for you today, and it's really important that you start taking the steps you need to take to make the action happen, and really pay attention to what's going on and watch them. Because if you do that, then you're gonna make that progress towards that thing you're really hoping to see. So those small steps along the way will help get you there. Great. Now I understand why the card showed up and what it is I'm aiming to do, and I feel way more likely to actually take some action steps. And so yeah. So if you're seeing this and you have pulled the Three of Wands, or you saw my tarot and coffee, or you're just feeling like, oh yeah, that's the energy I needed, there's your why. We do it so that we can slowly make our progress, because even just a small amount of progress in any direction, even if it's not feeling inspired, is going to get us closer to that end result that we're really, really looking for and excited about. So I hope that had some little bit of inspiration for you today. Go ahead and take your baby steps. Figure out your why. If my why doesn't work for you, maybe you need to figure out your why. Why are you taking those baby steps? Maybe you don't have one and you need one. Consider that, and I will see you tomorrow for more kitchen chats.